Okay, today's very simple. We're just going to go over the feedback and progress that you guys have turned in. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on each one. I'm just going to go through and point out kind of like the major issues um, or things that are kind of blatantly out of place. But remember, a lot of this is subjective, so it's just my opinion, and that's not how I grade. I only grade pretty much on just craftsmanship, like how clean you get your cuts. So that's something that you should focus on and try to master. A friend of mine's daughter is taking the same class, and she's been really good about since I've known her since she was a baby, so she can communicate stuff easier than students normally do. And what she was telling me was that I didn't really stress the craftsmanship part enough with her class. So that's helpful for me to tell you because um, when I grade, it's the only kind of objective thing that I can look at. Remember, uh, people's aesthetics and comfort levels and distances and what they feel is relaxing and soothing to them can be like sort of anxiety making for other people. So I can't really grade on your narrative. The one thing that I can grade on is your process. In other words, how you go about the project. Do you put the time and effort in? And then in the final project, is it clean? Is it like, did you spend time with it? And what you'll see over the course of the semester, probably, I mean, definitely in my classes, but it's almost universal in art related classes. The amount of time and care and effort that you put into the class almost always equals the grade that you get. You know, you'll there's going to be classes where you try really hard and you don't make an A, but for the most part, the effort and what you learn, what you gain can be measured, and you know that plays out into the grade that you get. Okay, that leads into a lecture I'm not going to get into today, but today I would like to look at uh, your progress on your first project, and if like I'm going to spend a minute or two on each one, and if there's something else you want to talk about, in other words, the if the just the feedback is isn't enough, then let me know and I can give you more feedback. We can go into much greater detail. And I don't know why the video's washing out. I feel like I'm fading into nothing. Hold on one second. Is it this camera? Yeah. Maybe I'll switch cameras. Oh, I know what it is. Sorry, just one second. Um, now I don't know what's happening. Just for low light. Touch up my appearance. Oh, how about that? Okay, I don't know how that's gonna get fixed. Hold on, I'm sorry, one second. I can't deal with like fading into oblivion here. Okay. Oh, better. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at the progress you've turned in. Is that the one? Okay, here we go. Oh, first of all, everybody sign in and type your name in the chat, please, and thank you. What is going on? How come nothing's easy? Okay, can everybody see the screen here? Okay, cool. Thank you. All right, let's go ahead and start at the top. All right, so we have cedars, and just in terms of cutting, this I know there's lines and stuff, but this is not bad. Like these are kind of difficult cuts, and with a little, sanding and detailing, that's not bad at all. So you'll see that these interior cuts are the hardest ones, and to master those, it takes a little bit of work. But generally, what you would do is you would mark out the shape, and you start in the corners, of course, and you pull through over and over until you're sure that you've cut through the material, right? So if it's a square like this, you cut through. When you're cutting off just singular pieces, you want to do it in like one or two cuts, but these interior cuts are going to take a lot more, especially in the corners. And it's these cuts that you really, really have to have a sharp blade, has to have a brand new blade. Um, I I can't stress it enough. I say it over and over again, but I'm not sure why it doesn't always get through, but you should go through about 25 blades for this project. Some people go through 50 blades for this project. So you constantly have to have a fresh, sharp blade. Don't throw the blades out because you can use them for everything else. But for foam board, it has to be pretty much a brand new blade. So if I'm cutting and I use it for about an hour or 90 minutes or 2 hours max, then it's time to switch out the blade. Okay. So, okay. So Cedars, this is Cedars drawings, and just the drawings themselves. I love how it looks, just kind of in this black and white. Um, these, I'm looking at all of these, and I this one, number 7, is definitely workable. See, you can see the heavy, heavy contrast in size, right? So that's a big circle, that's a tiny circle. And that contrast makes the big shapes feel bigger and the small shapes feel smaller. And that's the value of using contrast. I like how this feels in general. There's kind of there's almost a theme or a narrative behind it. So number 7 works. Number 6 works. Number 6 works because of the open space. Look at all this activity over here, and then there's open space here. Then it's a question of like, do these small shapes balance out all the visual weight of these? And if not, can you add more little ones? What does it take? Maybe volume wise. In other words, these are 6 layers high and these things stick up like in a 3D way. Does that balance the composition, from this side to this side. So this works. Number five is this one's a little more, um, it's not chaotic at all, but it's sort of frenetic. In other words, there's a lot of energy happening. And so I think maybe in something like this, I might start to edit a few pieces just to leave some open space in between. But this is another good balance from left to right. Like this exercise is interesting because it's like, oh, how much chaos does it take to balance out this big block, of mass? There's a lot of good designs to pick from. This one I noticed almost looks like a head and an arm. Um, that might just be me, but this one starts to feel a little figurative. And but the ones we talked about, like that's good to go. Like this design is good to go already. You don't really even have to change anything. These relationships where you have pieces that they're not touching, but they're definitely related to each other. And that draws your eye all the way across. So, in other words, this form right here follows this curve all the way around. So, they're definitely connected. This is what I'm getting at in terms of continuance. In other words, if you imagine this not being there, then what would happen is that this would feel heavy on this side. But if you have a little continuance here on this side, then it balances and your eye is drawn together, especially if this is volumetric. Okay, so this is good work. All right, Anna. Okay, these are also uh, good sketches. These are good designs. I think if I'm looking at this page, um, I I'm drawn to number four, only because it has sort of curved lines and it has straight lines. And what I would do is I would think about combining two of these, right? This has geometry, and then this one has kind of organic shapes. And I think if you made a composition that, had this arrangement and mixed it in with uh, this one that's very organic and moving around, I think that would be a winning sort of contrast. And what is nice about some of these is some of these are very comfortable with open space, like this sort of top row right here, and this one too. Um, I think, and even this one to some extent, but that open space is nice because it makes the busier areas seem busier and the open areas seem more relaxed. So if you can have that combination of like busy, relaxed, um, it works, it kind of synthesizes in a composition and it draws energy from one contrast to another, if that makes sense. So, and I would use a combination of these and try to get something that's organic and mix it in with the geometric forms you have. And the cutting, that looks good. That's a little rough. We want to get it so that that looks good, right? So if you can get all your cuts to look like that, you're in good shape. And a lot of you have only tried straight cuts, or I don't see pictures of curved cuts. So I would encourage you to try to cut some curves and see how that goes because that will sort of dictate what uh, shapes and I mean what design that you use. These are these are so nice to look at. If you can imagine like hundreds of like I look at thousands of these sketches over a semester, and so it's nice when it's clear. I can kind of understand the idea of the design. So just the thumbnails and the way that these are made. I guess it's I don't know if it's Illustrator. Um, I I just like these sketches. The design, let me see. Do we have? I don't know what that is. Okay. The design itself, um, I would have to say are a bit symmetrical. Like, in other words, if I were to put a line down the middle here or put a line across, those that reads a little bit too symmetrical. This is bilaterally symmetrical, it's horizontally symmetrical, it's vertically symmetrical, it's radially symmetrical. So this one is a bit too symmetrical. But these up here, if I draw a line and I can sort of divide out two equal forms or mirror versions of themselves, then it's probably a bit too symmetrical. This one's fine. So this one, well, actually, if I drew a line here, it would also be symmetrical. But looking at it from this perspective, it's not hard to fix. So if I wanted to make this a little bit more asymmetrical, I think I would just drop this these two shapes, just drop them down here. And then this shape you could make bigger and make it so that it continues off, right? So how this one has continuance, this one could also have continuance. So these look great. I would open up, there's this one's nice because it has open space and it is definitely asymmetrical. Um, the only issue here is that the sizes are fairly similar all the way through. So it might be a good contrast to add super tiny pieces in here and see if you can work them into the composition. And I don't see foam board cut, but on these on the feedback and progress, I'd like to see how it's going with the foam board. So even if you didn't post your foam board cutting, be sure and go back and post it, or at least let me know how it's going. So if anybody's stuck or having troubles, I can help you. All right, Joseph. Okay, that's a good cut. Good. And designs look good. I These are almost good to go. One like this one here, to me, that's pretty much complete. The one thing you might consider is opening up some space, and maybe these circles kind of get moved off to, somewhere kind of out of dead center, and move them out of dead center and see if you can open up some space. It happens a little bit here, so that's nice, a little bit here. Um, but in general, I think there's kind of two the shapes are kind of the same size and the spacing is kind of the same size. So I would think about a bigger contrast in sizes and that contrast between uh, busy and open. Okay. Again, love the sketches. Nice and clear. I understand what's happening. And these, I think this one looks like it's a little more articulated because I feel like that might be the original, like your first idea. And I was looking at these a while ago, and um, I think to me that's the clear, not clear winner, but This one is most ready to go, I think. This has uh, big pieces and small pieces, and it has organic shapes and geometric shapes, and it has curved lines and straight lines. You might open up a little more space, but it does have kind of busy areas and a little bit open areas. So this one has a nice feel. There's a flow kind of to it, and I feel like this one's most ready to go. And the shapes are doable. In other words, the shapes are workable. There's nothing too hard to deal with in terms of cutting. Like this shape, it's beautiful if you can do it, but that's a hard cut with you know what I'm saying? That's a hard cut with an X-Acto knife. All of these are kind of doable. So just going across, you kind of can't lose in terms of designs with any of these. Like that's good, that's good, that's good. These are all. This one might be a little bit symmetrical if I drew a line from here to here. Um, this one, all this one needs is a little bit of editing. In other words, like if you take out some pieces and open it up, I think it's on par with this one. I still like this one the best, I think. Oh, what about this? If you made a combination, look at how kind of regimented and geometrical this is, and look how organic this is. If you can get these organic shapes, like if you crafted them in foam board, it is possible, but it's sort of like advanced, it's a little bit advanced to get it shapes like that. But if you were able to like get those shapes and mix it with these that are like geometrical, but also leave some space, I think that's a winning combination. And it sort of happens already here. So um, that would be the one in person, I have a stamp. So I would stamp this one. Okay. These are your cuts. Okay, that's good. That's a hard cut to make, so that looks good. So you have a curved cut, straight cuts, it's all good. Very good. All right, Emery. Okay, again, these sketches are really good. Okay, I'm gonna quiz you guys really quick, just so that, okay, we're looking at Emery's drawings here, and what I would like you to do is I'm thinking of one, there's one that's very clearly the one to go with. Maybe two, but there's one definitely. Can you guys guess which one it is? Just type the number in the chat. And okay. 16, 12. 12 was my second choice. Uh, okay. And people are saying six. Six is nice, but it's not. Six is nice. I would add that. That's not wrong. But only one person got it, and that's Shayna. Shayna, I picked number two as well. Can you tell me why you think it would be number two?
I picked number two because of the organic shapes on the side, and they're not like too symmetrical. They're both like on different sides of the borders, and then the squares at the top are different lengths, or the rectangles I'd say, and there's not too much going on, but we still got like the smaller circles to add to the bigger swirly shapes, and then that kind of bridge looking shape. I don't know. I think I liked that one because it wasn't too busy, but I liked the shapes.
Okay. That's exactly basically you've summarized the whole project in like 1 minute. That's exactly what I was going to say, and that's uh, there's a combination of like organic and geometric, and it's comfortable with these open spaces. And the big small thing, if there's a little bit that might need adding, maybe the circles could be a little different or smaller. Like you could have like keep those, but maybe add a little like little tiny ones next to it so that they're almost like have their own little relationship. But even if you didn't do that, number two is complete. It's good to go. You just start cutting. So number two would be the one that I would stamp on this one. You guys also said six, and I didn't notice it right off, but six is also really, really good. What makes it work is this little interruption here. In other words, this thing's going along like it has its own shape. It creates organic shapes in the simplest way. Like this is just a bite taken out of a circle, and it creates this like whole kind of organic form. And this is very effective, like opening an area here so that we know that these are connected. And then it's not quite exactly the same shape, but it's easy to imagine this being kind of like connected somehow, right? It's almost like it could be the negative space there. And so number six reminds you of Super Smash Brothers. Uh, I so the funny thing about that is I my son plays it all the time, and it's so loud coming from the room, but I have no idea what it looks like. So I'll have to trust you on that one. Okay. Again, these see this one's good too. There's a lot of good possibilities here. This one I also didn't notice, but this one's really good as well. And it's all the same thing. It's the organic in the background mixing in with the geometric forms. So I would just say on all of these that they're all you can't go wrong with any of them, but I would open up some space. And this one is the one that gets kind of the closest. Really good work. And the foam cutting is would like to see some curve cuts, but that's fine. And yeah, I would like to see a little more practice. In other words, um, and that's a really cool cutting board. Um, Try to cut some curves and see how it goes. Okay. All right, Lindsay. And okay, so this one's a little rough, but this one looks good. It's really hard to get these interior cuts. I think if I were trying to get that shape, like if I was using, instead of the negative space, I was using the positive space, you could basically cut off a square and then cut off the corners of it, and you could get a similar shape. But if it's that interior negative space that you're going for, then that's as good as you can do. It's hard to get those kind of negative spaces, so that's good. Yeah, good to go. Let's see, Lindsay's and oh, here we are. All right. Again, I like the ones that have a little room to breathe. a little kind of open space. And this, these are also good, like in terms of the contrast, right? You have big, small, you have organic, and you have geometric forms. I think these sort of lean more towards the geometric forms. So in this case, like this one here, I might extend these geometries out so that they extend more into the composition. But all of these could work. This one's really nice too. I would have one thing that goes off of the top. In other words, maybe this piece goes, it gets cut off by this top layer or maybe a triangle so that it doesn't look like there's a top and bottom. In other words, you could flip this around and it doesn't read like, oh, this is the base bottom part. But in terms of big, small, curved straight, organic, geometric, these all work pretty well. I would sort of add in a little more geometry or straight blocky pieces. All right, good. All right, Caitlin. All right, more super clear sketches. Okay, these are also good in terms of the combination of like organic and geometric. A lot of these are uh, like this one is organic heavy, and I feel like this one is more geometry heavy, and I think the successful one is more like the number six. Number six, except two things. Leave some open space. Like this triangle, you might just be able to edit it out, just take out the triangle. And also the difference in sizes. In other words, you want big, big pieces, small pieces, like big, like taking up 3/4 of the thing, and small, like the size of a pencil eraser. So that kind of contrast, you can't use it too much. In other words, uh, go big and go small at the same time. All right. I would vote for number six. Okay. Not bad. Just needs a little cleaning up. These are good. All right. Looks like it's good. That one's a rough. Yo. Um, I would, if you're having cuts like this, it's almost for sure the blade. So the second I see this in class or in person, I I basically say, hey, you gotta change your blade. Okay. All right. Let's do another vote again. So I'm gonna arbitrarily number these. This is one, two, three, four, five, six. And I'd like you guys to, I feel like there's one that's clearly the best starting point. So which ones do you guys think it should be? All right. Okay. So I uh I voted, I think it's number four. I think it's this one. But I also see the point in this one. The problem with number one is that most of it is contained by the square. In other words, you don't have enough continuance right here. This is also interesting. I do like the open space. The only issue with this one is that it's a little bit symmetrical. In other words, if I took a line and drew it from there to there, it would have pretty close to a mirror image, from left to right. This is the one. So number four is uh, the one that has the most contrasts, right? So it's organic, it's geometric, it's open, it's busy. These, what's nice about this is I give you guys all the exact same rules with the exact same materials and the exact same size limitation and all this criteria that's like homogenous to everyone. And people still come up with stuff that's just completely like you don't really see it. It's unusual. It's kind of like specific to them. So this one has this very kind of interesting contrast between geometries and organic shapes, and it's almost like a one-to-one. Like this is the organic and this is the geometric, and um, the most effective part about this design is that this geometric form, the organic part feels like it's giving it a little space, right? Like it's meant to be there. And so that definitely works. Now, one thing I would say about trying to stagger like or terrace the pieces. So I imagine this is a triangle with a smaller triangle with a smaller triangle, right? And it steps down. And what I would suggest to you is to like make at least one edge completely straight up and down. In other words, don't terrace it. Make sure that it's just straight up and down. And what that does, like you could push all of these back into this one corner, and then it would just only step down kind of from this one angle. What it does when you stack them exactly on each other is it makes the volume more visible. It makes the volume look more chunky or blocky, and it's visually heavier. So you can do it, and it makes it sort of a tool that you can use to balance the rest of the composition. All right, good. So I like that one. There's something almost like mm, Native American or maybe like tribal. I don't know. I'd have to see it in person, but this one has. Oh, the other thing that this has is kind of a flow in between, right? It it it's not trying to flow, but it has this kind of like the open area lets your eye kind of meander around. So this one has, I think, the best contrast and the best sort of motion. Okay, Antonio, I can't see what's happening there, but um, these pieces that if you're cutting out to have negative space, that's one thing. But if you're just cutting out the shapes, what I would do is I would start in a corner. So for example, this square, if you start at the corner, then you only have like two pieces to cut out, right? If you start on the edge of any of these pieces, you can start on the edge so that you only have, two or three lines to cut out. Circles are different, right? If you need to know how to cut a circle, check the video that I made, and I show you guys exactly how to make a circle. So there's that. So I would like to see the sketches in your design here. By the way, if you haven't turned, if you're having trouble with the sketches at all, let me know, and that way you don't get stuck and then you end up having to do this last second. All right. Okay. So I think these are a little hard to see where the cuts would be. So I think what I would probably consider is um, actually this one works. This one works. Let's see, are these numbered? No. This one works. It's organic. It has good contrast between kind of big pieces and small pieces. I would leave out a few of these, like edit, so it opens more space. And I would add geometries for contrast, right? But it has good continuance. There's contrasts here. It has a feel like it's almost bubbly or almost feels underwater. Uh, but I would add some geometries here just for contrast. Okay. Yeah, so circles like this, uh, it's almost easier to like place them in an area that's closer to the border, and then you just sort of you can easily slice around it, and then you just trim it down so that it's closer to a circle. Again, in the video I made, it sort of explains it. All right, that's that. Okay, there's a couple good ones here. So this one works. Again, it's the organic and geometric contrast, and so does this one. This one, it has good contrast, except for that a lot of the pieces are kind of a similar width or size. So this one would definitely work if you started to add little tiny circles like the in here. If you mix that into this composition and then maybe like this piece, you just edit out so this area is open here, and then add tiny little things that if you move them around, you can use them to balance the composition. Um, so I vote for this one, and and then I would like to see some practice cuts. And again, if you didn't add the images of your practice, you can go back and add them, but just remind me when you do so that I can give you credit for them. Okay. All right. Let's see. Where are we at? So we have one, two. Okay. Oh, is there a whole nother page? Oh boy. Okay. Oh, it's not too bad. Okay, so we've got a little ways to go. I need, so I'm fully empathetic to the fact that it's hard to listen to me for like an hour at a time, but let's take a break and let's come back in 10 minutes, and I think after the break we'll have another 20 or 25 minutes and then we should be done. Okay? Okay. And then when we come back we're on Shayna's, I think. There we are. Okie doke. Let's go. All right. All right, we back. Very good. Oh, I should bring this up. I almost forgot. All right. There's a new way to get extra credit. Not new, but I do this every election cycle. But if you vote and you can prove it, like either just have a sticker or uh, how to do this without a privacy issue. If you just have a sticker, or we can just do the honor system. But if you vote, I'll just give you extra credit. And uh, I definitely would not ever, I mean, it's ethically wrong to tell you who to vote for. And I wouldn't, plus, I don't, who knows? Like, I don't even know if I'm right. I'm pretty sure I am. But I trust you guys to figure it out. So um, it doesn't matter who you vote for, just vote. And I trust you guys will figure it out. And then just show me like your voting sticker or whatever, and I'll give you extra credit. Okay? Okay. If you have a teacher that tells you how to vote, especially at Long Beach, uh, let me know. And uh, I ran into some guy, and I told him if he kept doing that, you're not teacher people in positions of power are not supposed to like advocate in any way. It's kind of an abuse of power, um, and I don't like it. It's a trigger for me. It's somebody that's taking advantage of their position to like further their political belief. Um, anyway, to make a long story short, there was a professor at Long Beach doing that, and I told the student to tell him that I would fight him in the quad, not an argument. I would fight him in the quad because it just bothers me so much when people take, and trust me, like a professor, like an adjunct, like that's not a lot of power to be trying to wield in front of, it's just so stupid and petty. Like anyway, yeah, let me know. All right, let's UFC. Yeah, I left a message on his machine, and he never got back to me. I think I could have taken. He was older. I, anyway, uh, all right, let's share screen and get back to it. All right, we're on Shayna's piece. Okay, so do we have? Oh, they're there. All right. So it looks like, all right, there's curved pieces and straight pieces, and I see some good cuts on the straight pieces, but it does look like there's some trouble cutting the curves. And what I would suggest is those don't look like bad form cuts. Those look like you need a new blade cut. So I would just start cycling in brand new blades. And here's a little hack. This doesn't work 100%, it works about 75%. But if you have old blades around and you don't have any new blades handy, what you can do is get the knife sharpener, you know, the knife, those round things that come in the knife kit, like the knife set in the wooden block, and you pull it out, and it's kind of like this cylinder thing, and they use it to sharpen knives. You can actually use that to sharpen your X-Acto, and it won't get it super sharp, but it'll get it workable. So you could, you would do that in the last, like if you're down to the last few cuts and you needed to like somehow sharpen your blade, but still it's far better to have a brand new blade in there. Okay, so I'm just gonna talk about the designs that I can see here, and I can kind of see that one, but I like this one. I like this one because it has, first of all, it goes like it moves all the way through. So there's flow in there, but there's also open space. There's also organic versus uh, geometric. There's tiny little circles. There's bigger circles, straight lines, curved lines. So just about all the contrasts that we look for are there. One little detail is that these things we look at, or I look at these from all directions. Like I don't really see these as like top down or bottom top. Um, One thing to be careful of is putting like circles that come out of a corner. And the reason being is that if I'm looking at it from this angle, circles that are in the corner will sometimes read as like a planet or like the sun or the moon, and that sort of pulls it into the uh, figurative, uh, which we're kind of trying to avoid. In this case, I don't think it's not bad because enough of it is kind of continued off, and there's this piece here. But I think this one is the one to go with. And just, uh, I can't tell if it's the angle, but make sure you keep your squares square instead of a rectangle so that they're proportional to your design. This one's close enough, but you don't want some of these I started to see they were getting very like rectangle shape, and that's going to create problems um, as you transfer it onto your actual project. So this one works, and I think just a new blade, and I think you're all set. All right, let's keep going. And so, is Denia here? I just don't know how to pronounce Denia's first name. Or any.
Hello.
Hi, are you? How do you pronounce your name?
You said it correctly.
Denia.
Yeah,
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
you're
Uh,
welcome.
all right. First of all, these I like how simple they are, and it's better to come from a place of too simple than too complicated. And the reason is because if you make this part, this what I'm about to tell you now, you might either write it down or commit it to memory. It's one of those standard, very standard design philosophies that um, it it applies to just about every form of design, toy design, product design. But the more simple your design is, like the more reductive, people say simple, people say minimal, right? The more simple, minimal, reductive your design is, the more perfect it has to be. The more craftsmanship shows up and becomes much more obvious if you have uh, work. Like, for example, if you think about the Japanese Zen gardens, does everybody know what I'm talking about? Like the Japanese Zen gardens that have like a lot of times it's just um rocks that are sort of like gravel that's kind of combed. And in the Japanese Zen garden, sometimes there'll be like a bigger stone that's in the middle. Sometimes there's just one stone. And the idea is to picture yourself above the clouds, and the one stone is the mountain coming through the clouds, right? Very, very simple, very light, minimal. And when you look at it, any tiny thing out of place is going to be noticeable. Like one pebble out of place that just sort of fell off from a row is going to be noticeable. So you can't, the more minimal it gets, the cleaner the craftsmanship has to be. That's pretty much a universal kind of rule of law in design. Um, so I don't mind if the designs are simple, but the first thing that I'll be looking at is craftsmanship. Like, are these clean cuts, right? Are these, they don't have to be like rigidly spaced from one another. That's not the point. The point is the the process, the craft of cutting the foam board is kind of the most important process in this project. Okay, so having said that, see, like this design, I don't mind it. The one thing we do want to consider is to make these square instead of rectangle. So you'll see how this one would is proportional to the 12 by 12 square of foam board. And this one you would have to change your design to get it into a 12 by 12 square. So that's just something to be careful about. But just this shape in combination with geometries and it being simple, it works all by itself. You could add smaller pieces, right? Or large pieces for large small contrast, but the designs themselves don't have to get too much more complicated than this. And will we have, wow, look at that. That side's perfect. This side, it looks, so after looking at thousands of these, this looks like one pass. This looks like it's cut pretty well, but it's a couple passes, right? Uh, but that's what we want right there. All right, Amanda. Okay. Ooh, look at that. Okay, so I think that's if so this cut right here would be a hard one to do, but if you were able to get it, that's a really, really effective piece. Like that has its own particular feel that doesn't happen that often. It's almost like it's a combination, just a kind of internal combination of geometry and organic all in one piece, right? There's kind of these rounded shapes. There's some sort of straight lines, but the thing in total is very organic. So and it goes from side to side, which is nice. Uh, I'm looking at these, and you know what's good about these sketches is that it's trying all different kinds of stuff, and it still has a similar feel. I think it's just because of the line weight, but uh, this one it has flow. It feels like engineered, like it's working on something. The only thing I might consider is these points coming to a point right at the very edge. So remember that uncomfortable feeling that we were talking about if we go to a theater and someone comes in and sits right next to you? That's because they acknowledged you. So in a tangent way, this is doing the same thing. These points are acknowledging that border. It's not really a coincidence, or it doesn't seem like a coincidence that they're there because it happens twice in one shape. So what I would do is I would just either I would move this off a little more so that they don't come to a point right there, and then that would open up a little more space here. But then that's it. It's ready to go. You maybe that you put like a square rectangle in here, but that's a really good design. And how is the all right. Okay. That's a difficult cut, and there's some snags, but that's about half of it's really good. So this is just a matter of like practice. This reminds me of actually that's a story. It's a long story. Never mind. So these curve cuts, it's just a matter of practice, right? I think like this one went from kind of rough to getting pretty good. It looks like the blade is okay, but there might have been an awkward angle. It might be kind of a sharp cut to get that exacto around there. Yeah, it looks like it. Anyway, these just take practice. Oh, that's a hard shape to get. These are good. Okay. So these just need a little like sort of fine tuning, but those shapes together are really dynamic. If you look at the negative space in between, that's a really nice form. And there's more. Perfect, good, almost perfect, not quite perfect, but this is what you're looking for. And if you can get that, and if you do it a few times, then it'll feel the point is you want to do this enough so that when you cut it clean, everything else feels wrong. Like anything you snag won't feel right. So that looks good. Good. All right, Tiffany. Okay. All right off the bat, number one is good. Number one, if we drew a line from this angle to this angle, it would be a little bit symmetrical, but that's a really, really easy fix, right? In other words, you could make, instead of stepping these down, this could be a block. These pieces could travel to this side to like balance the weight of that. But the combination of open, busy, small pieces, big pieces, organic, geometric. Um, and you'll notice that I'm leaving out volumetric or mass compared to flat. That's what you're working on, right? So that's the idea. When we do the final critique, I'll be looking at like, oh, this has mass, or this doesn't have mass, or this needs more mass. So right away, number one works. By most of these work. Like there's uh, there's a natural feel of organic versus geometric in all of these. Yeah, pretty much everyone. This one's nice because it has there's open space, there's straight lines, so there's this very subtle kind of relationship between straight and curved. And this one, I don't like to say this, but it has a vibe. Like it has a certain feel, almost a certain narrative. I think the only thing that this might need, that this one has, is these little geometries that contrast the big pieces and also the curved pieces. Very good. This this is a very effective way to create a line without creating a line. It's almost like an implied line, and it's very effective because it uses two things. It uses repetition to keep your eye moving across, but it also creates a line that your eye can follow, almost like a channel. So it happens here, kind of happens here, definitely happens here, definitely happens here. So it's a reoccurring thing. Maybe if this had something like that in there somewhere, just to contrast the organic shapes. This one's maybe closest to that. So um, this plus this, or just use this one, um, is the way to go here. Also, one thing I didn't talk about, let's see, do we have any cuts? No. Okay. So would like to see some practice cuts. One thing that I'd like you guys to think about, and just in terms of narrative. So if you have your design and you're cutting your shapes and the cutting's going good and your project's going good, then I'd like you to start to think about narrative, right? And maybe add a title. Um, the title, like how to title your work, is kind of one of my hobbies. Like I enjoy coming up with titles. I enjoy a good title. Um, so just something to keep in mind towards the end of I mean, it can happen anytime, but someone from Citrus College came up with a title before they even started the project. The title was Barry Keeps Time in Her Pocket. That was the title. And I thought it was beautiful. I think it's just a beautiful start, right? And then the design can come from there. All right. So let's look at Mr. Brown's. Okay. These are also all good candidates. Um, all right. So I like this one. It's a direct, very direct contrast between geometrical and organic. Um, it's funny, in art school, like we might have a 45-minute conversation about whether that should touch or not. So on this one, that creates a little bit of tension, especially because it's sort of in the center of the composition. Me personally, I think I would overlap it a little bit so that there's kind of like not this tension of whether it should touch or not. Even if you put it back a little ways and it was like a tiny distance in between, I think that would cause a little bit of tension. I feel like if this overlapped a little bit, or there was a cutout, like either in the organic shape that's sort of an L shape that this could conceivably like sort of fit into, or if the organic shape had like a cut, like a little bit of a round, so that it acknowledged that curve, I think that it might integrate a little bit better instead of coming to like that creates a little bit of tension, I think. But this is another simple design that already works. You might add little tiny circles into this just to like that big small contrast, but this one already works. So let's see how the cuts go. Good cuts. I would try some curves just to see how it goes, and try some curves. And you got this down, I feel like. So try some curves that if you decide to pick this one, just see if you can like roughly make that shape. You can take a pencil, put a light mark on your foam board, and see if you can get that shape nice and clean. Yeah. All right, good. Amber is not here, but okay, these are kind of ideal drawings. I don't even know which one I would pick. These all work. These all hit pretty much all the contrasts. So I think this one is the most adventurous for me. Like it leaves this space open, and I like that in the sense that it's comfortable with open space. And you'll hear me say that over and over again, like leaving an open space and not having this tendency to like crowd every open square inch with information. This is what I would do in this case. Like this is all like big, small, curved, straight, organic, geometric. The contrasts in this alone carry the whole thing. Like it's simple, it works. The lines aren't perfectly straight, so it almost looks human made. I would do one little tiny thing. I would leave this open, but I might put just a hint of a circle right here so that this circle and this circle, your eyes sort of connect them, and then it would draw the whole thing together. And the space would still be open, it would still have this open feel, but the uh, the composition from left to right would be a little more integrated. These are good. That's just a nice drawing all by itself, right? There's something, again, it has a sort of a feel, a vibe to it. It's a nice, like I could see a painting like that, and just that's it. All right. Also would like to see some practice cuts. So again, this whole thing is worth 5 points, and 2 for the sketches, 2 for the practice cuts, and 1 point for a perfect image of a perfect cut. No, an image of a perfect cut, and that gets you the full 5 points. Okay, Luna is all right. I saw these earlier. Did I make a comment already? Maybe I did. I did. Okay. This I love. Like, if you're able to get um like a geometry, something that's set, something that's planned, something that looks sort of mechanical, and you overlay it with something organic, or you overlay your shapes and forms that are very much on purpose over something that's kind of loosely, it's, organic. There's no, it's a little bit arbitrary. And then you put, so this is a contrast that I haven't talked about at all. And that is something very designed, very on purpose, perpendicular, center, it's almost center point to center point here. And you contrast it with not on, like, not designed or not on purpose or something natural. So in a way, it's like man-made order overlaying kind of nature. And, you know, I mean, that's a lot to read for one little design, but that combination is very, very effective. If you can put, um, it's kind of the idea of putting like geometry and organic forms over each other, but that's a nice combination. And again, it can be simple like that. It's just if it gets that simple, then it needs to be perfectly cut. All right, some rough times. So if you're gonna make this that simple, then this has to be cleaned up. That's not a terrible cut. You could sort of sand that up and that's workable. But when the foam sort of caves into the paper, that's when it's sort of not usable. That that cut's fine. Um, what I'll probably do next semester is I'll just say like, hey, you need to um, show me a perfect curved cut instead of just straight cuts. Okay. Oh yeah, I went on about it. Okay, so we have one more page. Okay, and so we have Kayla's and Jenna, and that's it. So two more, and then we're done. All right. So Kayla's. All right, there's no foam board here. So I'd like to see some foam board practice, but design wise, I think I discussed this. Let me see, did I? Yeah. So this is the advantages. If you turn in your sketches, this goes for all projects. If you turn in your sketches ahead of time, I have extra time. That gives me time to like do markups and do a little kind of a more complete feedback on your projects. And I do that so that other students can take a look at what you're doing. So I appreciate that you um, when the sketches and stuff is turned in early, that is a benefit to me and then your classmates as well. But I was looking at this one, and really all that one needs is bigger pieces that just sit underneath it. And I added a big square, and then I added this kind of like organic shape. Um, Again, these little points that go up against the edge there, I might either overlap it or pull them back. But other than that, this is all you need. It doesn't have to get much more complicated than that. Would like to see some fun work cut though. Kayla. All right. Okay, not bad. This looks like you were kind of sawing through it, but that's okay. That doesn't take much to like sand out, but those cuts look great. And design wise, yeah, these are, again, there's a lot of geometries mixed with organic shapes. I think I would probably start with this one. And there's open space, there's geometries. These are small pieces compared to this. You could even go smaller for more contrast. Just remember that you want to like make your sketches square. I would literally just crop it right here so that this is sitting on the bottom edge and there's a line that goes through it. And I think that would kind of seal off the design so that it has continuance at the top and the bottom. This part that runs right to the edge, I think I would just run it off, like in other words, make it so that it feels like it continues on. So that's continuance. But if I'm looking at these, I think this is the clear one to go with. And if you're going to make a shape like this, try it out, like pencil out a shape and see what you can do with the X-Acto. And if you can get close, then that's fine. If it alters, like the shape changes, then you might change your design a little bit and adjust, but that's fine with me. Okay. All right. Did you guys have any? Mr. Brown, who's that?
This is my son. He opened the door and came right on in.
Oh, good. What's your son's name?
His name's Ethan.
Hi, Ethan. Can you see
Say
me?
he was trying to show you the squishy Pokeball that he has in his hand.
Oh, I've seen those. I've seen those, and that's a good one. Don't eat it though. Okay, you can eat it. No, I'm kidding. All right, nice to meet you, Ethan. Okay, so do you guys have any questions at all? Is anybody stuck, like having trouble, like cutting a foam board? If so, let's be in contact. And what happens is that if you have trouble, what we can do is we can have a Zoom meeting. The Zoom meeting lasts maybe 3 minutes or 5 minutes. And what happens is I show you exactly the correct way to cut foam board, and then you cut foam board, and then I basically coach you. It's like having your personal foam board cutting coach for 5 minutes, and I'll show you and make sure you get it clean because it's important that you get this part down, not just for this project, but learning to cut foam board. If you're in any kind of design at all, or if you ever have to design something, it's important. Um, it's important to know how to cut foam board. It's a basic skill that you have to have um, in any kind of design that you get into, especially architecture. If you're studying architecture, you have to know how to cut foam board. Okay. There was a question. Let me see here. Okay. So Tiffany is asking if you change your sketches, do you have to upload it? And the answer is no. But um, if you change your idea, then because the ideas themselves, I only grade them yes or no. Like if you turn them in or not, I don't grade them on, oh, they got better, right? Um, but if you change your design and you have questions about it, just send me an image in inbox, and usually what I'll do is I'll take it and I'll take a screenshot and then I'll do a markup and then I'll send it back to you with suggestions. And one more thing to remember is when I screenshot your work and then I mark it all up with red lines and stuff, it's not a direct order, right? It's just a suggestion. All of this is up to you, right? And some stuff is like subjective, like some things you'll like, some things I won't like. And I don't grade you on what I like or not. All I grade you on is very, very basic design vocabulary, like is it symmetrical, right? And if I'm telling you make it not symmetrical, I want you to understand that part. But other than that, I'm just looking at how clean your cuts are. That's it. Simple. Okay. So try and get that part down And if you're having trouble, be in contact, okay? Okay, that's it. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you, Tiffany. Oh, Tiffany's gone.